It was supposed to be a clean start. September morning, new semester. The sun slid down the glass towers of Northwood University, painting the sidewalks gold. Students streamed toward the dorm gates, coffee cups in hand, ID cards ready. The new Face Trust system had gone live that week, a sleek row of cameras and scanners replacing the old security guards. Posters on every lamppost promised faster, smarter, safer. Renee Jackson tightened her backpack straps and smiled. She had survived 3 years of all-nighters and late rent. One more semester and she'd finally graduate with her degree in computer science. Ironically, her senior thesis was about algorithmic fairness. She held her phone up to the scanner. The small lens blinked, a thin light scanning her face. Then a sound she'd never heard before, a dull electronic buzz. On the screen above the gate, access denied, profile mismatch. The crowd behind her shifted impatiently. She laughed awkwardly, stepped back and tried again. Another buzz, same red text. The security officer at the booth looked up. "Ma'am, can I see your ID?" She handed it over, expecting a quick reset. He studied it, tapped on his tablet, then frowned. "It says your profile photo doesn't match the scan." Renee blinked. "That's me." "I'm just reading what the system says." He waved the next student through, a blonde girl in a hoodie. The gate opened instantly, green light flashing. Renee tried again. The red banner returned, harsher this time. "Profile risk detected. Please contact admin." Her smile cracked. "Risk? What does that even mean?" The officer shrugged. "Probably a glitch. Happens sometimes." But as she stepped aside, she saw her own reflection in the glass wall. Same brown skin, same curls, same tired eyes. Nothing had changed about her. Only the system had. By the time she reached the administration office, it was nearly 9 a.m. A woman at the desk scrolled without looking up. "Name? Renee Jackson? My ID stopped working at the dorm gate." She clicked a few keys, then squinted. Says your profile's under manual review." "For what?" "No details. Probably a system error. These things learn and adjust all the time." Renee leaned in. "So, an algorithm can decide whether I belong here, and no one knows why?" The woman finally looked up. "We trust the system, Ms. Jackson. It's 98% accurate." Renee laughed under her breath. "Guess I'm the other two." The woman didn't respond. That night, Renee tried logging in to her student portal. Invalid user. Her library card. Suspended. Her university email. Temporarily restricted. By morning, she was invisible. She walked back to the dorm gate, watching the camera's red light follow her. Each time someone else passed, the gate slid open soundlessly. When it was her turn, it stayed shut. A few students noticed, whispering. One said softly, "Maybe it's the lighting." Another said, "Maybe the system's right." Renee stepped back, chest tight. For the first time she'd started at Northwood, she felt like an intruder on her own campus. Her phone buzzed with a new message from the campus AI compliance office. Subject: Profile verification notice. Dear student, your account has been flagged for additional identity confirmation under our enhanced Face Trust security system. Please refrain from accessing restricted areas until your status is resolved. Estimated review time, 10 to 15 business days. Thank you for your cooperation. Renee stared at the words until the screen blurred. 15 business days. That was 2 weeks of classes she'd already paid for. 2 weeks of being locked out by a machine that couldn't tell her apart from someone else. She whispered to herself, "I wrote papers about this." The camera above her blinked again, recording her frustration. In the reflection of the metal gate, she looked like a ghost framed in red light. And somewhere deep in the university's servers, a line of code had already decided that Renee Jackson didn't fit the picture. If you've ever trusted a system that stopped trusting you, this story is for you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Where technology meets the people it forgets to recognize.
By the next morning, Renee had stopped expecting anyone to fix it. Her inbox stayed empty, except for one automated message titled, "Ticket number 4431, in progress." No human name, no signature, just a timestamp and the same closing line. "Do not reply to this message." Still, she showed up to class. When she reached the lecture hall, the door's scanner flashed red again. Another access denied. The students behind her looked uncomfortable. Someone joked, maybe she dropped out. Renee forced a smile, but her chest tightened. Professor Han noticed her standing outside the glass door and waved her in manually. "Just sit, Renee, we'll sort it out later." Later never came. When class ended, she overheard two students whispering near the exit. "I heard they're tightening security," one said. "Yeah, facial match errors are rare, unless something's off with your record." Off. That word followed her like a mosquito. She went straight to the campus IT center. Inside, rows of cubicles glowed with blue light. An employee wearing a hoodie on a name tag that read Devon AI Support looked up as she approached. "I need help. My ID's been deactivated." "Student name?" he asked. "Renee Jackson." He typed fast, squinting at the screen. Says your account's under review by the compliance team. There's a confidence mismatch in your face trust file." "What does that mean?" "It basically means the system isn't sure you're you." Renee blinked. "That doesn't make sense." Devon leaned closer to the monitor. "It says your base image was auto-updated last month." "Auto-updated? I didn't change my photo." He hesitated. "It happens when the system replaces old ID pictures with recent footage from security cameras. It's supposed to keep records current." Renee frowned. "So you're saying my student profile picture got replaced by surveillance footage?" Devon shrugged. "That's how the update works." He turned the screen toward her. A low-resolution image appeared. A blurred figure walking down a hallway. Darker skin tone, different hairstyle. Not her. "That's not me," Renee said quietly. "The system thinks it is," Devon replied. When she asked how to fix it, he scrolled, then pointed to a button labeled Manual Verification Request. He said, "You can follow this, but it takes about 2 weeks." "I can't wait 2 weeks," Renee snapped. "My ID controls everything. Food card, library, even my dorm." He sighed. "Look, I'm not supposed to say this, but these systems are way stricter than they should be. It's all liability stuff. No one wants to override a security flag." "So everyone just hides behind the algorithm?" Devon lowered his voice. "That's above my pay grade." That evening, she walked to the administration building, the same one where banners still hung outside. Northwood, pioneering safe AI for campus life. The receptionist didn't look up when Renee approached. "I need to speak to someone about a face trust error," she said. "Please submit a ticket," she replied. "I already did, 2 actually. No one's responded." The woman exhaled through her nose. "Ma'am, these systems process thousands of scans a day. We can't manually check everyone." Renee leaned on the counter. "It's not everyone, it's me." Finally, the woman looked up. Her gaze softened a little. Not sympathy, but fatigue. "You'd be surprised how many say that." When Renee returned to her dorm, her keycard didn't open the door. Her roommate, Jen, poked her head out, startled. "Oh God, are you locked out again?" "Apparently, yes. The system still thinks I'm someone else." Jen frowned. "Did you talk to student affairs?" "They told me to talk to IT. IT told me to wait for compliance. Compliance doesn't answer." Jen hesitated. "You want to crash on my floor?" Renee laughed, but it cracked in the middle. Sure, I'll just pretend I still live here. That night, lying on the carpet, Renee stared at the ceiling. Above her, she could hear the hum of the hallway camera, the small electric whir that meant it was always watching. She whispered, I study this stuff. I write code for this stuff. Her own field had turned against her. The thing she believed could make the world fairer was now the thing erasing her name, her access, her right to belong. Before falling asleep, she scrolled through her old thesis notes on bias detection. In one highlighted paragraph, she had once written, every algorithm carries the fingerprint of its creators, their data, their blind spots, their fears. Now, that sentence didn't sound academic anymore. It sounded like a warning. Sometimes being unseen isn't an accident. It's a design flaw. Like, comment, and subscribe to follow Renee's fight for recognition, one error code at a time.
By the end of the week, Renee's patience had thinned into something sharper. Her student ID still didn't work. Her class attendance dropped to 0. Her name, once printed on the lab access list, had quietly vanished from the roster. It was like the system was editing her out, one entry at a time. On Friday morning, she decided to stop waiting. She went straight to the engineering building, the one place she still remembered having a voice. The door scanner flashed red again. Access denied. Renee smirked bitterly. Figures. She spotted a group of students leaving through the side exit and slipped in before the door closed. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed. Rows of terminals blinked with green code, and somewhere down the hall she found the office of Dr. Ravi Patel, her senior thesis advisor. He looked up from his laptop, glasses halfway down his nose. Renee Jackson, you look like you're about to sue somebody. Working on it, she said, dropping her backpack onto a chair. Face trust locked me out. Apparently, the camera doesn't think I'm me anymore. His brow furrowed. How long has this been happening? 4 days. IT says it's an algorithmic mismatch. I saw the replacement photo. It's not even me, but they call it an auto-update. Ah, the university's new partnership with Visionware Technologies. They pitched it as a living database, learns your face in real time. Then it learned wrong. Patel gestured for her laptop. Let's see what the data says. Renee pulled up the student network portal, which now required Patel's faculty ID to access. Together, they navigated through buried admin menus. System logs, Face Trust user activity, Jackson Renee, Audit Trail. A long list of entries appeared, time-stamped and color-coded. One stood out in red. 0728, auto-update triggered, confidence match 38.4%. Patel tapped the screen. That's your problem. The system's confidence dropped below the 50% threshold, so it flagged you for manual review. Why would it drop? He scrolled further. Environmental mismatch, camera calibration, or... He stopped mid-sentence. Or demographic weighting. Renee frowned. What's that? He hesitated. Face Trust uses a feature called demographic normalization. It's supposed to balance accuracy across skin tones, but sometimes it overcorrects. Low lighting, darker complexions, the algorithm interprets it as noise. She blinked. You mean it's bad at seeing people who look like me? He didn't answer. He leaned closer to the screen. See this line? He pointed to a small note buried in the code. Bias mitigation deferred in Model 4.2, pending Q4 patch. He sighed. Deferred, that means they know. Renee's stomach turned. So they rolled it out anyway? Patel nodded. Deadlines first, ethics later. She exhaled slowly. Can I get a copy of this log? I shouldn't. He looked at her, then clicked Export as PDF. But I will, for your records. That night, Renee printed the audit trail and pinned it to her wall. Lines of code stared back at her like a confession written in another language. She highlighted one section in red ink. System accuracy exceeds 98% confidence threshold. It sounded impressive until you realized who the missing 2% were. She opened her old notes again, her thesis on algorithmic bias. In a half-forgotten paragraph, she'd written, "When a machine misidentifies you, you disappear in silence. When it does that to thousands, it rewrites the truth." It was no longer theory. It was her life. She emailed the evidence to the university's AI compliance office. 3 hours later, a response arrived. "Thank you for your inquiry. According to our review, the face trust system is functioning within its expected accuracy range. Case closed." Renee stared at the screen. Expected accuracy. She said the words out loud bitterly. "I guess being wrong about me is within expectations." That night, while scrolling the campus forum, she found a thread titled, "Anyone else having trouble with face trust?" She clicked. Dozens of anonymous posts appeared. "It flagged my cousin. Says my ID doesn't match my photo. I'm locked out too. They told me it's a calibration issue." And one message at the bottom. "Check your audit log. The system learns who to trust and who not to." She sat back in her chair, pulse quickening. The glitch wasn't personal. It was patterned. She whispered, "Then it's not just me. It's everyone who doesn't fit their picture." If a computer can decide who belongs, who decides when it's wrong? Like, comment, and subscribe, where data meets the human cost of being misread. By Monday morning, the story had started to slip beyond the gates. Renee hadn't meant for that to happen, at least not yet. But when she posted the short clip on her private account, showing the red banner blinking "Access Denied," her caption hit a nerve. "Face Trust says I don't exist. Funny, I paid tuition like everyone else." Within 24 hours, it spread through group chats and campus threads. By day 2, it had 8,000 views and a new hashtag. Hashtag Invisible at Northwood. At first, the school ignored it. They always did. But the attention kept growing. Students started testing the scanners for themselves. Some laughed when the gates hesitated. Others didn't. A black grad student commented, "Same happened to me last semester. Security said, lighting issue. Guess the lighting's racist too." An Asian student added, "It flagged my mom during parent weekend." The replies filled with uneasy laughter, disbelief, and a single repeated line, "I thought it was just me." Meanwhile, the administration doubled down. Their social media posted a glossy promo video, upbeat music, smiling students walking through gates, text overlay reading, "Smart security for a safer campus." The caption read, "Northwood's new face trust system ensures protection for all." When Renee saw it, she almost threw her phone. Protection for all, unless you didn't look like their definition of all. That afternoon, she went to class anyway. Professor Hahn had emailed her a temporary QR pass. When she scanned it, the turnstile beeped green, but the class went silent. "Hey, that's the girl from the video." Someone whispered, "Guess she's the glitch girl." She could feel every eye on her. Her skin felt like a spotlight. She sat down, opened her laptop, and stared at the blank screen. The irony burned. Her major was computer science. She was literally studying the thing that erased her. After class, a woman in a crisp blazer stopped her outside the door. "Miss Jackson, I'm from the Office of Communications." Renee blinked. "Did I win something?" The woman didn't smile. "We'd appreciate if you removed your video. It's creating unnecessary confusion." "Confusion? You mean attention?" "The system is being fine-tuned. Public perception is fragile. We don't want misinformation." "Misinformation?" Pulled out her phone. "That's me in your gate getting denied entry." The woman's expression didn't change.
Our analytics show the model performs at 97.8% accuracy. Please understand that no technology is perfect. Renee's voice cracked. Then why am I the imperfection? The woman's polite smile faltered for half a second. Then she said, "If you keep posting, we may have to escalate to student conduct." That night, Renee sat by the campus fountain with her friend Jen. "Do you think I should take it down?" she asked quietly. Jen shook her head. "They're scared, that's all. Nobody likes when a system looks bad in public." "Yeah, well, it looks worse in person." Jen laughed softly, then grew serious. "You know what gets them to listen? Numbers, proof, not stories." Renee nodded slowly. "Then maybe I should collect some." The next day, she created a form called Face Trust Access Issues Anonymous. She shared it quietly through group chats, Discord servers, and student boards. By midnight, she had 73 responses. By morning, 212. Same phrases repeated: denied access, mismatched profile, manual review, confidence below 50%. A pattern too big to ignore. At 10 a.m., she received an email with the subject line, "Notice of Digital Conduct Inquiry." "Dear Miss Jackson, your recent social media activity and unauthorized data collection violate Northwood's digital integrity policy. Please report to the Student Conduct Board on Thursday at 9 a.m. Renee read it twice, then laughed bitterly. The system didn't recognize her as a student, but it recognized her as a problem. She opened her camera and started recording a new video. No music, no filter, just her voice. "They said I violated policy, but all I did was prove their policy violates people." Her face filled the frame, backlit by the blinking campus gate. The caption read, "If I don't fit their picture, maybe their picture's wrong." Within an hour, it hit 50,000 views. Sometimes, exposure is the only language power understands. Like, comment, and subscribe, because when the system won't see you, make sure the world does.
The email came at 2:47 a.m. Subject line: "You were never supposed to see this." No sender name, just an attachment labeled bias_report_internal.pdf. Renee's first instinct was to delete it, but something in her gut, the same instinct that had driven her to post the videos, told her not to. She clicked. The document opened to a black and white company letterhead. Confidential. Visionware Technologies. Face Trust Pilot Evaluation Report. Northwood University Deployment. Version 4.2, March to July. Her eyes darted down the page, scanning the numbers. Overall accuracy, 97.8%. Female white, 99.2%. Female black, 86.1%. Male white, 98.4%. Male black, 88.3%. A column titled Error Causes read like a confession. Lighting variation. Hair density interference. Skin tone contrast degradation. Dataset imbalance pending fix Q4. At the bottom of the page, one line made her stomach twist. Bias mitigation deferred to next quarter pending resource availability. Deferred. Again. Always deferred. She whispered to herself, they knew. By sunrise, she'd forwarded the file to Maya Tron, the activist she'd seen in a live stream months ago fighting a housing algorithm case. Maya replied in an hour. This is gold. Don't post yet. Meet me tonight, somewhere quiet. They met at a diner off campus, the kind that still smelled like burnt coffee and paper menus. Maya was small, sharp-eyed, the kind of person who noticed everything before speaking. "This is worse than bias," she said after skimming the PDF. "This is structural negligence. They deployed a product they knew would fail for anyone who wasn't white, and called it progress." Renee stared at the file on her phone. "They'll say it's just numbers." Maya nodded. "Yeah, that's the problem. When bias is data, it becomes policy." Later that night, a message popped up from a private number. "If you're talking to Maya, don't trust her fully. The company is monitoring her. I can help you. L." Renee frowned. She texted back, "Who is this?" "A technician. I helped install Face Trust. You deserve to know how deep it goes." The next message contained a single link to a hidden folder labeled facetrust-logs.zip. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside were internal screenshots, Slack messages, progress notes, and something called comfort calibration data. Her eyes widened at one exchange between developers. "Skin tone segmentation is tanking accuracy again. Just push it. Admins won't notice until complaints pile up. But it misreads darker faces as background. Then tell them to use better lighting." Renee closed her laptop and sat in silence. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. The next morning, she sent the files to Talia Boone, the same journalist from the Northwood Ledger who had exposed the Care Bridge scandal. Talia called within minutes. "You realize what this is, right? It's a blueprint for discrimination, and it's signed by the people who built it." "I just wanted to go to class," Renee said quietly. "Yeah, and now you're about to go to war." 2 days later, the Ledger ran the headline, "Face trusted no one. Inside Northwood's flawed security AI. Exclusive documents show racial bias in university's facial recognition system." The article cited anonymous sources, leaked logs, and testimonies from Renee, although they identified her only as Student X. The piece exploded across social media. Students protested in front of the main gates, holding signs that read, "We are not calibration errors. Deferred fairness equals denied access." By evening, the university released a statement. "We take all claims of bias seriously. Visionware's system remains 97% accurate and compliant with state guidelines. Minor anomalies are being addressed." Renee laughed bitterly. "Minor anomalies," she said to Maya. "That's what they call people like us." Then came another email, this time from the same mysterious sender, L. "They're looking for the leak. Delete your copies. They traced one to your IP." Renee froze. "They can't do that. I used a VPN." "Doesn't matter. They control the university network. Get off campus, now." Her pulse spiked. She shoved her laptop into her bag and ran out into the night. The sky was low and gray, the air thick with rain. For the first time, she understood. This wasn't about a glitch. It was about control, and she had just stepped into the center of its code. Some systems break people to protect themselves, but Renee is just getting started. Like, comment, and subscribe, because in a world run by data, sometimes the only firewall is truth.
By morning, the university looked like a protest poster. Students filled the quad with hand-painted signs. "Turn the cameras off. I am not a glitch. Face trust fails us all." Renee stood on the steps of the administration building, hoodie pulled tight, camera crews already there.
The air buzzed with chants and the low hum of drones recording overhead. Irony so thick it hurt. At noon, a podium was rolled out. The university's PR team filed in with their polished suits and calculated smiles. In the center stood Dean Carter, Northwood's Vice President of Innovation, the man who'd personally approved the Face Trust rollout. "Good afternoon," he began, voice smooth as glass. "Northwood University remains committed to equity and safety for all students. Our Face Trust system has revolutionized campus security with a 97% success rate. Isolated concerns are being addressed through collaboration with Visionware." Cameras clicked, reporters scribbled. Someone shouted from the crowd, "What about the 3%?" Dean Carter smiled, unfazed. "No system is perfect. Progress requires patience." Renee whispered, "That's what every failure says before it breaks something." Inside the press tent, Talia Boone adjusted her recorder. "Dean Carter, our team verified documents showing Face Trust developers warned about racial bias before deployment. Were you aware of this?" Carter hesitated just long enough for everyone to notice. "That report was preliminary. The model was improved before launch." "So why do the logs still show a bias mitigation tag marked deferred?" "That's proprietary information. I can't discuss internal algorithms." Talia leaned forward. "So you can't explain why a student was locked out of housing for having the wrong skin tone under the wrong lighting?" The dean's jaw tightened. "We reject that characterization, Miss Boone," she finished for him, smiling. "It's pronounced accountability." That evening, Renee received an official notice. Subject: Student Conduct Hearing, Thursday, 9 a.m. You are required to appear before the Academic Integrity Board regarding unauthorized data sharing and participation in unsanctioned demonstrations. She laughed out loud. "Unauthorized data? They leaked my life." Maya placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "They're cornered. This is a distraction move." Renee rubbed her temples. "They built a system that couldn't see me, and now they want to make sure no one else does either." On Thursday, the hearing room felt like a courtroom. 3 faculty members sat behind a long oak desk, faces impassive. Renee sat across from them, folder of evidence in her lap. "Ms. Jackson," said the chair, "you're accused of violating the university's data protection policy by releasing confidential material." Renee leaned forward. "You mean the material that proves you violated every anti-discrimination law on the books? Please answer the question." "I'll answer all of them," she said, opening her folder. "But you should read these first." She handed over copies of the Audit Trail, the bias report, and the developer messages. The chair adjusted her glasses, scanning the pages. "Where did you get this?" "From your system, the one that calls me a profile mismatch." A low murmur rippled through the room. Half an hour later, the panel recessed. When they returned, their tone had shifted. "Ms. Jackson," the chair said, "we've reviewed your evidence. Effective immediately, your suspension from campus systems is lifted pending investigation. The administration will launch an external review of Face Trust and its partnership with Visionware." Renee blinked. "So I'm cleared?" "For now." She wanted to feel relieved. Instead, she felt tired. Outside, the quad buzzed with students waiting for her. When she appeared on the steps, the crowd erupted. Cameras flashed. Talia shoved through the swarm. "They're opening an investigation. You did it, Renee." "I just wanted to get back into my dorm," she said quietly. "Yeah, and you cracked $1 million algorithm." That night, Dean Carter issued a statement on the university's official page. "Northwood University values fairness and transparency. We are temporarily pausing Face Trust pending external audit. We thank our students for their passion and commitment to improvement." It was written like an apology, but read like a press release. Maya texted her. "They blinked first." Renee stared at the words, unsure whether to laugh or cry. She whispered to herself, "They built a system that couldn't see me. Now the whole world sees it." When institutions apologize to protect their image, real justice starts with those who refuse to stay silent. Like
comment, and subscribe, because visibility isn't granted by systems, it's taken back by people. The first real breakthrough came from an email with the subject line, "We built it, and we warned them." It was from Luis Santiago, a software engineering grad student who had worked part-time for Visionware Technologies the previous summer. "You don't know me, but I helped code parts of the face trust model. We told them it was broken before it ever scanned a single student." Renee's hands trembled as she scrolled. The message continued. The university didn't want fairness. They wanted metrics, fast deployment, easy PR. They called it the Campus Safety Accelerator. We called it bias with a login screen. Attached was a folder named internalpatchlogs.zip. She opened it, and for a moment, the world went quiet. The first document was a spreadsheet labeled Demographic Weight Adjustments. In the parameters column, her eyes caught on one line. Appearance normalization threshold 0.75. Skin tone range limit 0.68 to 1.0. Auto flag below 0.68. Next to it, a developer's note. Model classifies darker tones as incomplete match. Recommend manual override. And beneath that, override not implemented, pending resource approval. Renee stared at the numbers until they blurred. Her entire nightmare boiled down to decimal points. That night, Luis met her in the back corner of a student cafe. He looked exhausted, hoodie pulled up, laptop under his arm. "I shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "Visionware made us sign NDAs, but I can't watch them gaslight an entire campus." Renee nodded slowly. "So it was intentional." Luis exhaled. "Not intentional, like let's discriminate. Intentional like we know and we don't care." The system worked great in testing because the data set was almost entirely white faces. The moment we added darker profiles, accuracy dropped. They said, "The lighting will fix it." "The lighting," Renee repeated, voice flat. "They blamed the sun?" Luis gave a bitter laugh. One manager even said, "Don't overcomplicate it. The cameras like consistency." He pulled up a screenshot of a Slack conversation from 6 months earlier. Dev A, system still failing on skin tone range below 0.7. Manager, then raise the lower limit. Dev B, that'll exclude 30% of real faces. Manager, 30% of faces or 30% of complaints? Renee clenched her jaw. That's not just negligence, that's policy. Luis nodded. "We tried pushing a fix. They said it would delay rollout, and that the university already printed the marketing banners." He looked at her, guilt all over his face. "We called it the picture problem." Renee tilted her head. "The picture problem?" "Yeah," Luis said softly. "If you don't fit the picture, the system pretends you're not there." 2 days later, Talia Boone published a follow-up piece. "The picture problem. Developers say Northwood ignored bias warnings." The article included screenshots, leaked logs, and an anonymous quote from a Visionware engineer. "We raised the alarm repeatedly. They said don't break the rollout." The story detonated. News outlets picked it up. Cable shows ran panels about AI ethics and systemic bias in education. Northwood's phone lines were jammed with parents demanding answers. Renee's inbox overflowed with messages from students at other universities. "Our system uses the same software. They said it was state-of-the-art. Now I get it. I wasn't the glitch." By Thursday, Northwood's president released a new statement. "Effective immediately, we are terminating our contract with Visionware Technologies, pending investigation. The university will collaborate with state regulators to establish new standards for algorithmic accountability." The words looked bold on paper, but they landed hollow in Renee's chest. She'd already learned how words like accountability get defanged by committees. Still, when she walked across campus that evening, she saw something new. The gates were open, the cameras dark. The red LED light, the one that had denied her for weeks, was finally off. Students clapped as she passed. Someone shouted, "We see you now!" She smiled, half in relief, half in disbelief. For the first time, she could walk through those gates without showing her face to a machine. Later, she met Luis and Maya by the fountain. Maya handed her a newspaper,
Front page headline, Recognition on Trial. Below it, a photo of Renee standing in front of the deactivated gate, the caption reading, "The student who didn't fit the picture and made the system admit it." Renee laughed softly. "That's going to haunt me forever." "Good," Maya said. "Some ghosts deserve headlines." When exposure turns into evidence, change begins. But systems don't vanish, they adapt. Like, comment, and subscribe, because behind every broken algorithm, there's someone brave enough to call it by name.
2 months later, Northwood University looked almost normal again. Or at least, the version of normal that follows scandal. The banners were gone. The cameras had been removed, leaving faint circles of cleaner paint on the gate posts where the metal brackets used to be. But the silence that replaced the hum of face trust wasn't peace. It was awareness. On a cold Tuesday morning, Renee sat outside the administration building waiting for the hearing to reconvene. This time, it wasn't about her conduct. It was about accountability. The State Committee on Algorithmic Oversight had called a public session, and Northwood was its first case. Inside, a new panel of officials sat under the state's seal. The press filled the back rows. Dean Carter looked smaller this time. No podium, no rehearsed smile. Next to him, representatives from Visionware Technologies scrolled nervously through their notes. When the chairwoman called Renee's name, she stood. No blazer, no script. Just the quiet confidence of someone who'd already survived being invisible. "Miss Jackson," the chair began, "you were one of the first students to report the failures of the face trust system. You've seen firsthand how it operated. In your words, what went wrong?" Renee took a breath. They built a system to recognize faces, but they never taught it to recognize people. The room went still. She continued, voice steady but low. The university trusted an algorithm more than its students, and when that algorithm failed, they said the problem was lighting, not bias, as if fairness could be adjusted by brightness. One of the committee members nodded slowly. "Do you believe this was intentional?" "I believe they wanted convenience, not justice. And convenience always chooses the people it already favors." Across the room, one of the Visionware executives leaned toward the mic. "Our company regrets any unintended harm. We're implementing new diversity protocols and a fairness audit for future systems." Renee tilted her head. "You can't audit empathy. You have to build it." The crowd murmured. The chairwoman tapped her pen. "Noted, Miss Jackson. Your statement will be entered into record." By the end of the session, the committee announced new legislation, the Algorithmic Fairness and Transparency Act, requiring all institutions to disclose and test automated decision systems for demographic bias before deployment. One reporter whispered, "They're calling it the Jackson Clause." Renee half smiled. "Cute, but I'd rather they just called it common sense." That night, she walked across campus. The gates stood open, no scanners, no sensors, just the steady wind and the faint glow of lamplight. Students passed her, waving, nodding. One first-year girl stopped to say, "You're the reason I even applied here. My mom showed me your story." Renee smiled. "Just make sure they still let you in." At her dorm, she found a small envelope taped to the door. Inside was a handwritten note from Dean Carter. "I owe you an apology, and this campus owes you more than that. Thank you for forcing us to see what we refused to." She folded the note carefully, not out of forgiveness,
but out of finality. Weeks later, she sat in her computer lab, now reopened, guiding a small group of underclassmen through their first coding project. On the whiteboard behind her, she had written in bold letters, "Bias is not a bug. It's a choice disguised as math." One of the students asked, "Are we really supposed to question the tools we build?" Renee smiled. "If you don't, the tools will question you instead." When class ended, she lingered by the window. Outside, the wind carried the faint echo of chanting from months before, the sound of students demanding to be seen. It wasn't anger anymore. It was memory. She pulled a small slip of paper from her pocket, the one she kept from the first day the system denied her. The words, "Access denied, profile mismatch," glared faintly through the fold marks. She flipped it over and wrote, "Access granted, human verified." Then she smiled, tore it in half, and tossed it in the trash. The story didn't end with her walking through a gate. It ended with her teaching others to build new ones, gates that open not because the algorithm approves, but because the human behind it decided to see. Renee's fight reminds us, being recognized is not a privilege, it's a right. If you believe fairness should never depend on lighting, share her story. Like, comment, and subscribe, where justice is no longer waiting to be scanned.